So welcome back. So today we're going to go over your body region. This video specifically is going to go over the anterior view. Anterior view means the front view. So we're going to look at the anterior view of your body, and we're going to use the scientific word. And these words will always have a second word behind them, and that second word will be region. So when you type it in on the quiz, you'll put the word region. I'm not going to be putting the word region up here for our notes, and the reason is it would get real cluttered. But no, when you type it in, when you do the practical, it does have a second word because this is an adjective. Most of these have an AL ending, meaning they're going to have some word behind them, and the word behind them would be region. Let's start at the top of the head. So here on our forehead, and that is what we're pointing to here with this one, this is known as the frontal region. The frontal region is basically your forehead. So I'm just putting the word forehead in parentheses for you to know what it's pointing at there. All right, if we move this, it looks like it's pointing to the top of your head, but it's really pointing to your entire skull, and your entire skull is known as your cranial region. That's C-R-A-N-I-A-L, and that is your skull. And these words are going to help you as we learn other words, so it's good to kind of get them together. So if we were to combine and talk about the entire head, the entire surface of your head, so together, these would be known as the cephalic region. Let me get that. That's an E. Cephalic region is your entire head. So basically your frontal, your cranial, also considering your occipital in the back. All right, so then we have our eye. So we have our eye that's in this socket here. This is known as your orbital region, or you can call it your ocular region. Anytime I have an or, either word is acceptable. So that is where your eye is located. Your ear here is known as the otic region. And I've skipped this because we've got a few things pointing at the face, so to make sure you know what we're pointing at here. This one we're going to say is pointing at the cheek, and the cheek is known as the buccal region, and that is your cheek. Okay. Over here, looks like you're also pointing at your cheek, but I'm talking about your entire face here, and I wouldn't put the word face in parentheses for this one just because it would give this one away. This is known as your facial region. So if it doesn't say cheek, then I'm talking about the entire face area there. Your nose is known as the nasal region. And then your neck, which is where your cervical vertebrae are, is known as your cervical region. Over here, we've got our mouth. That's known as your oral region. And then you've got your chin here, which is known as your mental region. So that gets our head. All right, so now we're moving down. Let's go down the arm, and we'll come back to this large one that's here. Okay, we'll label the shoulder on the back side, but your shoulder is known as the your acromial region. We'll label it on the other side, but your shoulder is your acromial region, front and back. I just don't have a spot for it here. So right underneath your arm here in your armpit region is known as your axillary region. Okay, and then we've got the arm. And so your arm has, we just say arm, but really your arm is this top part here, and this is known as your forearm, but we just generally just say arm. But your arm itself is known as the brachial region. And then your forearm down here, not in your elbow area, but right here is known as the antebrachial region. A-N-T-E, brachial region. And then right here where you, in your elbow region here in that fold, I had a student once tell me she imagines that you can put a little cube right in there. So when you're getting like an IV or something there, the reason that might help you is that little cube. This is the antecubital cubital region. Okay, so you've got your brachial, your antecubital, and your antebrachial. And then your wrist here, some of you may have problems with this, but this is your carpals. You may have carpal tunnel syndrome, but these are your carpal region here. All right. We'll get to the rest of that hand in just a moment. It's on the next slide. So we're going to go back up here and now talk about the chest. And so this one, I'm referring to the entire chest, this one here. So I would use the word entire chest. So if you're taking a quiz online, if it says entire chest, that is known as your thoracic region. And that is your entire chest. So watch for those words because the arrow could be moving around, but your entire chest is the thoracic region. So then here is talking about right in here, that is your breastbone there. And so that is known as your sternal region, where your breastbone is. Helps if I could spell. Oh my goodness. All right, I do take off for spelling. All right, so then we've got this line that's here, and I'm going to draw another line in right there. If you don't have one drawn in, go ahead and draw one in. So this is talking about the top part of your chest. When you think of like someone pounding their chest or flexing, they flex their pecs. This is the pectoral region. And then dead center in here where the mammary glands would be, that is the mammary area, which is what we think of the breast area. And men also do have breast. Okay. This arrow here, if I left it on your thing, is just talking about your upper torso, so upper limbs. I'm not going to make you write that, but a lot of students want it written in, so there you go. All right, as we move into underneath this little line here, which is your diaphragm, underneath your diaphragm you find your abdominal region. And then right here, where your umbilical cord is the umbilical region. And if I can move it down just a little bit, okay. So here, if you put your hands on your hips right here, that's known as the coxal bone right there. And so the sides here where your hips are, that is known as the coxal region, because that's the coxal bone. And so this area right between those coxal bones there, right underneath the belly button, that is known as the pelvic region, because we're getting into your pelvis, pelvic region. And then we go even further, well, right here in our private area, that is known as the pubic region. You would think pubic hair grows. So right underneath there, underneath, not here, which is between the two coxal bones, but above the private area, so that area right in between is known as the inguinal region, INGUINAL, inguinal region. All right, that is the anterior part of the upper torso. All right, so now moving down to the lower limb region, we're going to see your leg. We'll just stay on this side here. So that is your femur, your largest bone in your body. And so this is not the femur region, but known as the femoral region. So notice again, a lot of these have that AL ending. They don't all, but a lot of them do. Okay, and then we've got our foot, and we're talking about our entire foot here. That is known as the pedal region, because you pedal with your foot. And again, we are looking at the anterior view, which is the front view. So I would like you to know anterior means front view. Moving over here, we've got this large your big toe right there, and we got another one right there. So we're looking at your large toe there. That is known as the hallux. That is our scientific term for your big toe, the hallux. Your other toes, they're actually all your toes are known as phalanges, but so big toe just has a special name. So again, this is big toe. So the rest of them, this region here is known as the phalangeal region or digital. Yes, you may have either, but eventually you're going to have to know what a phalange is. So you might want to go ahead and learn that. So phalangeal or digital, because they are called digits or phalanges, but later we'll be using. So the phalangeal or digital region. And so up in our arm, that was the carpal in our wrist. So down here in the ankle, this is closer to our toes. This is known as the tarsal region. So right there in that ankle. All right, so this is our shin area here. Looking at the shin, if you've ever been kicked in the shin by someone, that was not very nice. If someone were to kick you in the shin, it would be very cruel if someone were to kick you in the shin, and that is known as the cruel region, but it's not spelt like the word cruel, but it is cruel like that. So maybe you can remember your shin region is your cruel. Most of you know, maybe your know that your kneecap is known as your patella, so the region is known as the patellar region. Okay, and then there's femoral again. So these are your fingers. All your fingers are also called phalangeal region or digital region. Either one. You're welcome to do digital. All right, this is referring to the palm of your hand. That's what that is pointing at, and that is known as your palmar region, specifically palm of your hand. And the big toe had a special name, hallux, and your thumb has a special word as well. It's called the pollex. So pollex for your thumb and hallux for your big toe. You remember that because if you were to take a poll, people might give you a thumbs up or a thumbs down. So pollex. All right, that's the anterior view. See the next video for the posterior view.